Billy, I'm guessing you didn't love the start you guys got, but you really closed that game well. What did you like about the depth and kind of the finish?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, you know, the turnovers I thought in the first half really hurt us. We were a little bit better after that, but, you know, when you look at it, and they've done this, you know, they've got really, really long athletic and defenders, and Johnson and, you know, Daniels, they get their hands on so many balls. And so the turnover number was not overly high, but if you look at the points off turnovers, I think it was 24 points off of 14 turnovers. They capitalized like every time we turned the ball over, and that was a big part of it. I think the difference in the game for us was I think we were +6 the last 6 minutes of the second quarter going into half, and I think to close the fourth quarter, I think we were +11. You know, so again, we're gonna have to play a lot of people, and I think a lot of guys stepped up, and you know, on different nights it's gonna be different guys, but we got a lot of contributions from a lot of people.
What do you like about Iowa in that closing lineup?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, sometimes I'm just going off of like, okay, he was playing really well. I think we need some defense out there, and you know, I put Kevin in there for a while thinking we needed shooting because they were switching, and maybe we could get him open for a couple of threes. You know, we got bogged down a few times because of their length and their size and their ability to switch with certain lineups. But I mean, it was just I think everybody contributed, and it was just kind of Iowa was just playing really, really well. It's kind of the same thing in the Orlando game. He played really well closing. I left him out there.
What do you make of Iowa's shooting? You know, last year was almost hesitant to take those shots. The year before he was missing them all, and now 2 fourth quarters in a row where he's made, you know, clutch threes, you know, 3 or 4 in a row. Both times.
Yeah, I mean, I think he didn't shoot the ball well last year. I felt like he shot it when it was there. He just didn't shoot the ball particularly well in the year. But the one thing about Io, and even I've said this about Matas, maybe even more so with Io, he has an unbelievable internal belief in himself, you know. And I think that, you know, for him, I always find it interesting when the road for guys to get to this level's a struggle, because they have to have a belief in themselves and they have to overcome things. And, you know, Iowa was a first-round draft pick, you know, when he kind of all of a sudden, you know, he has that rookie year because we have a bunch of guys with injuries. He gets an opportunity, and probably no one expected him to do what he did. And the second year was kind of down, but he never loses confidence. So I think probably, to be honest with you, after the shoulder surgery, and once he was cleared, you know, he spent a lot of time in the gym shooting. I think he spent a lot of time, but he's got great belief in himself, and I really admire people like that.
But your rebounding has been, you know, really good this season, particularly you're smaller. I mean, I think in the second quarter you started, I don't think anybody over 6'2" was out there against Akamu and Porzingis. What have you made of the rebounding margin that you'll be able to, even though smaller, being able to out-rebound like that?
Yeah, you know, I think I've said this before, I think habitually, you know, just sometimes there's just not a lot of guys, you know, blocking out, you know, quite honestly. You know, there's times where guys feel like they can rely on their athleticism. We just don't, to your point, have the size to be able to do that, but we've been trying to send guys to the glass as hard as we can, you know, and kind of try to manufacture a few extra possessions, maybe a couple of putbacks, because the margins are so small, and we were such a poor offensive rebounding team. But you know, Isaac is really, really good at it. He keeps balls alive. Josh Giddey's really exceptional at it. We're trying to get Matas. I think Patrick's done a better job this year on the glass, you know, but we have to try to do that. I think if you look at our team last year, I said this before, we shot the ball really, really well last year, but we didn't get to the free throw line. We didn't really get any offensive rebounds, and we were okay. We weren't crazy with the turnovers early in the year. We were, but as the year went on, we weren't. But we've got to find other ways outside of transition to manufacture points. And we've done a good job getting to the free throw line so far in the first 3 games, and we've done a pretty good job on the glass, you know, manufacturing. And listen, we obviously, it was a 2-possession game, and Josh misses that shot and makes a great play to get an offensive rebound back. So we just have to do those things, those little things that are going to give us a few extra possessions.
Really, I didn't see this in real time when you mentioned it in Orlando, but I went back and watched when you were going to put in Josh, but you said that he told you that those guys were playing well. Mm-hmm. He sat down. It feels like some of the themes, and then obviously you closed with him, but it feels like you could have done the same thing tonight where the depth is on. Like, how often do you find yourself almost that those guys believe in the depth to the point where maybe they're even reassuring you?
Yeah, that was just a situation of, I think that the guys have sacrificed. It's a really, really great group of guys. I think the chemistry on the team in terms of their relationships are really good on and off the court. I grew up in a time played in a time where, you know, if you didn't have a good relationship on the court, you generally didn't have a good relationship off the court. You know, now it's a little bit different. You know, these guys have great relationships sometimes off the court, but don't, you know, have, when I say not they're upset with it, they don't really coexist very well. I just appreciate the sacrifice, you know, and I've said this before the game. There's going to be some times I'm going to try to make some decisions that, you know, I'm just kind of going off of my gut, quite honestly. And I didn't close with Josh in the game, and I was going to put him back in. Io made that three, and he said, let him keep playing, he's going well. And I agreed with him. I think it was the right thing. You know, maybe if I would make that shot, maybe he would have won the game. But it speaks to, I think, Josh caring about winning and caring about his teammates and looking at the group, and they're playing pretty well, and let's keep them going there a little bit. For us tonight, it was just trying to find at times different groups. I mean, Sam mentioned it. We ended up going really, really small. I was just trying to find different groups. Get down by, I think, 11 or 12, and they fought their way back. And you know, I brought Trey back sooner than I would have liked to. I thought he was getting tired. He had that one drive, he kind of fell at the basket, and I can just tell when he gets tired, so I got him off. I think Josh came back in and did a really good job, and then, you know, I came back with Trey and took Kevin off. So, you know, some of these times with these guys are just trying to keep some guys out there that are fresh, you know, that have fresh bodies. And I think that's going to be a thing for us, is we've got to try to use the whole 48 minutes to play the way we're trying to play.
It seems like what you're doing, too, is you're keeping ball handlers out there. Josh with Trey. Is that the
Yes.
idea? You always want to have at least two, maybe three. At the end, you had three ball handlers.
That's
out
right.
there.
Yeah, trying to. I mean, I feel like for our team, because you know, and I think you saw some of the switching and stuff. You know, we're winding up. We're trying to go one-on-one. We're just not that kind of team. We got better when we had Vooch with the ball. We were cutting and moving. We had that one swing pass. I think Modest ended up making a three. We had a lot of really good ball movement. We had some when we got ahead of the defense and got downhill. But when we were just lined up one-on-one, it was tough. So I think for us to have one ball handler out there that feels like he's got to make all the plays or generate all the offense, it's hard. So I've tried to keep. You know, Modest handles the ball well. Patrick can handle the ball, but you know, Josh, Trey, Io, like trying to keep two or three guys out there. I think that's important for us.
Billy, like both you and Sam alluded to earlier, you did go small with Patrick in the second quarter, even with Onyeka and Kristaps in there. You went back to it in the fourth quarter. I think you guys ended up playing them even, like 14-14 or something around there. What did you think of that group and how they did?
Yeah, I think what happens is, you know, the second unit, you know, against Detroit, I thought was just okay, and I thought the second unit against Orlando was phenomenal, and I thought Casey jinxed it before the whole press conference started, because he says you're never going to score 58 points again off your bench. 53, whatever. But
5 short.
the bench was just okay tonight, quite honestly. You know, I was just trying to find something, and the same thing happened. You know, we had a good run to close the third, and in that fourth quarter, we got a little bit stagnant as well. So I kind of like the idea, maybe at times, of having Patrick at the 5 with Modest and Isaac out there. You know, because they're physical, they're long, and they have the ability to switch and guard. You know, I thought Porzingis hurt us early in the game. We went to switching on him. We were kind of in coverage and trying to break off the coverage, and we broke it off a few times when he got going, and then we just kind of went to switching with him. But that line gives you, I think, some flexibility to do some different things defensively, and they did a good job while they were in there. I thought we had some opportunities to maybe take advantage of it a little bit more, but overall, not that we've done a lot, they were pretty good at it.
You mentioned we may have had this wrong. I know that would be a surprise, but
Very much so.
yeah, Vucevic, maybe he's getting better with age. I mean, he had like practically a 20-20 tonight. So did we have this wrong about asking him about the age? He seemed a little sensitive about that.
I didn't see that, didn't hear his response, but
Just
I was
asking him about age all the time.
Yeah. Well, listen, I've said this before, he's really, really professional. He takes unbelievable care of his body. He works out. I'll tell you this, like there's times when we land in cities, you know, I'll try to go down and, you know, work out after we land. I would say more often than not, he's in the weight room. You know, he's in there before most people, you know, at night, and goes through every practice, goes through every shooter, takes care of himself. I think the biggest thing that Vooch is doing, in my opinion, he's been a proven scorer in this league for his whole entire career. I think the thing he's really helping us with is he's really defensive rebounding. Even though he's not shot blocking, he's putting his body in between the man and the rim, and there's some verticality there. He's kept a couple balls alive on the defensive glass that he hasn't been able to come down with, that we've been able to come down with and start the break. And like, listen, you know, he's not always going to be able to be running up and down, but he trails in, and he's a great calming force with the ball in his hands because he can score and he can manufacture, offense with his passing, and if we're willing to cut and move around him.
Just to follow something, Joel asked you about Josh, and you mentioned
Australia?
You might be wondering why I'm asking about Josh, yeah.
Okay.
But no, you mentioned the selflessness, and
I'm sorry?
you mentioned him being selfless in that, Orlando game, and I'm curious whether, in your experience, you've seen guys like that where he does sign the extension and now he feels a little more comfortable here and some ownership with this team, when you've seen any change here over the last couple months or from last season.
Yeah, I mean, when I say change, Josh is a great guy. The thing I love about Josh is he loves to compete and he loves to play, and he also plays through a lot of injuries or things that would keep maybe other players out. He loves to play. I think the other part of it for Josh, listen, it's hard. You come all the way around the world, basically halfway around the world to Oklahoma City. You're adjusting to new teammates, the NBA, trying to find a new place to live, lifestyle, all the things that it comes from coming overseas. And then, the trade happens, and then he's got to do that all over again, and I think this year he's probably a lot more comfortable because he knows everybody here now. I thought last year there was definitely a transition for him, but Josh is very easygoing, easy to speak to, gets along really, really well with the guys, and, I think he's probably a lot more comfortable now than he was a year ago just because he knows everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.